Hi, this is Monica Alford with Wildside Media. I'm very excited to be back inside Legacy Sessions today. We are in Adams Morgan in DC, but we are speaking remotely to Peggy McCowan, who is the artistic director of the Contemporary American Theater Festival, and it's based out of Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And we're very excited to chat with you today, Peggy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here today, too. This is great.
So I know that the festival is coming up in July, right? It starts.
Yes.
Can you give us the full dates?
Yes, we open July 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then we run through the month of July, and we close on the 28th.
Okay, wonderful. So can you walk me through the ethos of the festival and why you feel it's so important to American theater?
Yes. So CATF has been a new play festival for 34 years. And we are a professional company that is dedicated to producing new works. And what is important about that is if you think of any play or any musical that you really love and go to see over and over again, you have to remember that it started somewhere as a new piece. And somebody took the risk to start it and to provide the resources and the support to enable it to have its first production and then to grow from there. And so we like to think that we're launching new American theater, that we're the place that the future canon of what people will see in the theater begins. And as the theater industry has struggled, many of the new play institutions are no longer with us. And so we have become even more important in providing that service to begin a new play.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long have you been with the festival?
I have been with the festival for 18 years.
Wow, wow. I don't want to dig too much into the past, but I'd love to know, coming out of COVID, how you feel the festival experience has changed at all. If you've seen any difference in the way that emerging playwrights are interacting with the festival and how you're picking your themes, et cetera.
I think the thing that is the biggest difference coming out of COVID is that both artists and audiences want to work differently. And so we used to produce 6 shows in rotating rep. We are now doing 5. In this case, we're doing sort of 3 plays and an offering in 2 parts, which still feels like 5. And part of that is so that the audience has more time in between all the pieces to reflect and to think and to slow down a little bit. And it's also so the artists have more time to do their work and to do that in a more manageable way. So we have really seen an interest in creating a really balanced experience for both artists and audience coming out of the pandemic. And that has an impact on the way we create the season, because we don't want to try and load the season with pieces that need everything all the time and are huge. And so it's the balance about that total experience for both artist and audience. And I think it's shifted quite a bit since the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I like asking that question because I feel even in media, I feel like the sense of like the hunger for connection and trying new things and being more open and vulnerable in creative spaces is just astounding in DC. So I was assuming it would be the same way with the festival. So that's wonderful. So
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit about the 4 plays and offerings? I know that's an important word in this summer's lineup that you are debuting this summer.
Yes. So the first play is Enough to Let the Light In by Paloma Nizica. And it actually is a second production, because one of the things that we also believe in is that after someone has had a world premiere, which is the time that you really learn the most about your script and your experience, trying to get that second production to continue work is really sometimes difficult. So we'd like to provide that service as well and that opportunity. And so this is a second production. Nizica is with us and is working to help kind of restructure and tweak some things in the play so it will feel like a slightly different experience for people who may have seen it before. But it was premiered in Chicago, so I don't know how many people will have seen it before. And it is the story of two women who are very much in love, Cynthia and Mark. And for the first time, Cynthia is inviting Mark to her home. And so it's a big night. They spend the evening revealing truths about each other. And as those truths are exposed, the question about whether they can really continue this relationship becomes sort of paramount. And in the midst of this evening, we also feel the presence of perhaps something supernatural. So this is like a psychological thriller. It really does have some jump scares in it. And it really asks the question, how do we love and what can we overcome in order to love someone?
Wow.
The other piece that we're doing is a play called The Happiest Man on Earth. This is also a second production, and this is the real life story of a Holocaust survivor. And it's based on the memoirs of Eddie Jaku, who has a novel out, a book rather, about his experience. And the thing that I really responded to in this story is that while he is retelling things that are challenging and horrific, he has this unbelievable joy and zest for life and believes that his responsibility to the folks that did not survive the Holocaust is to live with love and joy and to appreciate the blessing of life. And so it's very uplifting, even though it feels like the subject matter and the content can be challenging. And that was one of the things that sort of drew me to the piece. And then the third play is Tornado Tastes Like Aluminum Sting. And this story centers a young autistic child with synesthesia. And the child wants to be a filmmaker. And the parents in this story are very loving and very helpful in the process. It takes place in rural Kansas. And there is a tornado that is looming sort of in the distance of this story. And so we follow this journey about how this child grows into being a filmmaker and what the experience is from the perspective of a human with synesthesia, which is really fascinating to begin to understand when you're a neurotypical thinker as opposed to the neurodivergent thinker. And so it's a beautiful poetic piece. Yeah. And then the offering in two parts is What Will Happen to All That Beauty. And this is a story of sort of family, legacy, faith, and the impact of the AIDS epidemic on the Black community, both in the 1980s and currently.
Wow. I mean, these are all very powerful stories, and I feel like a resounding theme is acceptance. You know, whether we're talking about neurodivergence, which I feel like is something that also in a post-COVID world, people are way more open about, you know, their mental health and self-care and therapy and everything under the mental health umbrella, all the way to the not necessarily normalizing, but just being more open and vocal about the amount of people who live with HIV, you know, or are STI positive and how that's impacted their lives, and giving people the support and care and treatment they need, and destigmatizing it. So it seems like acceptance is a resounding theme, but do other themes come to mind beyond that you think kind of are the through line for all four?
I think acceptance is a very good observation about it. For me, it really is about love, right? Whether it is the love of family, whether it is the love of community, whether it is the love of life. I just think it is a celebration of how we love, and even how challenging that can be, right? How often there are obstacles and circumstances that make it hard for us to do that, and yet we still do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also have noticed, you know, that I think themes around queer identity and all the different forms that takes, you know, it seems to be very important to the festival. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, the festival, when it was founded in 1991, had values that included fearless art, diverse stories, and community. And we have continued to try to live through those values. And so every year we take a look at what that means to us and how we are living those values by the work that we put on stage. And so when we receive plays like we have now this season that we feel are really supporting our values and creating art that should be heard and seen, and especially art that may not have an opportunity in other theaters, we know that that is the work for us. So it's just staying true to those values, and particularly now we have added recently the value of inclusion.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about Shepherdstown as a artistic hub for this festival, and why folks from the DMV should come experience it if they haven't before.
Mm-hmm. Well, Shepherdstown is incredibly supportive of the festival. You know, they roll out sort of the red carpet at all the businesses, and they're very happy to have the artists that are here and the patrons that come to see the work. And it is a quaint, charming town with great restaurants, great shopping. It's sort of in the heart of Civil War history. It has great outdoor activities with, whitewater rafting and hiking and biking. And so the location creates a total experience. So you can come and see plays, but you can also do other things. And you can have a really robust sort of respite and leave from sort of your everyday life. And the fact that we're in this small town also means that audience members run into the artists, the actors they saw on stage, the playwright they read about in the program. They also sit next to at dinner, next to an audience member that they were in a show with an hour earlier. Mm-hmm. And so it also creates this sense of community that you don't really experience sometimes when you're in a larger metropolitan area, and you go to the theater and afterwards you don't see anybody else that had that experience with you. Right. Here, you kind of live it all the time, and it gives an opportunity for a lot of discussion and conversation and a creation of a unique community.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite moments is walking out of Signature Theater, Woolly Mammoth, and going somewhere for a nightcap and seeing some of the performers and going, oh, this is so exciting, Love that. So I have two last questions for you. I know that you, speaking of Woolly Mammoth and also Mosaic and other theaters in the DC area, I know that they have a relationship with the festival, and some of their, choices for their upcoming seasons are informed by the festival. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you collaborate with DC Theater.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a couple things. We often have some of the folks that are directors or artistic directors of those theaters direct for us. And so that's one way to really build a great relationship, because once they've been here and they've experienced the festival, they can help share information, and they can also see the work in a way that helps them decide whether they want to use it in their theaters or whether it's the kind of work they're looking for. So that relationship to help us create something here is very important. And then the other thing is that we like to audition in DC every year. We try to provide opportunities for designers and other artists in the community. And because a huge percentage of our audience comes from the DC area, it's nice to be able to say that we're in partnership with these theaters. And so it's great. There are many of these theaters that bring board members, that, we have a reciprocal agreement about how we share shows and how we work. And so we're just constantly trying to find ways to be in collaboration and connection with one another.
That's wonderful. Well, my last question is just, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would want to mention to encourage folks to come to Shepherdstown next month and to check out these amazing new works and offerings?
I think the thing that I would offer to everyone is that the new play experience is about the audience too, right? So a new play needs that audience in order for the playwright and the artist to really understand what's working and what's not working, and what they want to tweak or change for the next performance or production. And so if audiences come with the investment that they are also collaborators in the process, It's a really exciting experience. And there is a kind of investment and ownership about a new play that you can say, I was there first. I was part of it. I contributed to it. And so we really encourage folks who maybe have not experienced the new play world before to come understanding that they're part of it and that they make it possible.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I can come to Shepherdstown next month and check out a few of the plays.
It would be great. I hope you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peggy. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.